right. Hello out there to everybody out there and listening on the radio on WBCQ, shortwave 7490 out of Monticello, Maine, and everybody watching on our YouTube channel on W5KUB.com. This is Amateur Radio Roundtable. It's a show about ham radio, amateur radio, and we welcome you tonight. We're glad you're with us. And I think we got some interesting stuff to talk about tonight. Hey, let me ask you first, do me a favor. I need everybody out there, if you will do this. Oh, there we go. If you will, click on right there. Click on the subscribe button. That helps us to advertise our show on YouTube, and it greatly helps get the word out about our show. So just hit that subscribe button there. Hit the notify button. We come on sometimes during the week with something special, and that would notify if we come on. Just wanted to mention to you again where all you can find us, and as I've already mentioned there, let's see, WBCQ, and yeah, here we go, WBCQ. That's their hard line running out to one of their new antennas out there. That's one of the largest antennas, shortwave antennas in the U.S. that they just put up out there. And of course, that's they're way up there near Canada, so that's a great summer picture right there of WBCQ right there. Well, I hate to be up there in the winter. Anyway, hey, listen, if you don't want to listen to us on shortwave or find us on our YouTube channel, we're also on just about every podcast carrier out there: iTunes, Google Play, iNet Radio, all of them out there, Tumblr. Every week, a new podcast carrier is carrying our show. So we have a lot of people that have been downloading or just listening to the show, and we appreciate it. And hey, if you're one of the people out there that are actually listening through one of the podcasts, shoot us an email. We'd like to hear from you, see how well that's working out for you. Send us an email to tom@w5kub.com, tom@w5kub.com. I want to invite you to join our Facebook group. We have a ham radio Facebook group with over 13,000 members in it. It's a large ham radio group, and we talk about everything in here. So just click to join, and we'll make you a member of that for sure. So I guess that's about all the announcements at first that we'll carry here. We'll probably talk about them again a little later about mid-show. Let's go out there and see Glenn real quick and see how Glenn's doing down in Mississippi. Glenn, come in, Glenn.
Yeah, have to find the unmute button.
There's Glenn.
We're doing good. Had to swim home from work today with the thunderstorm.
Did you really?
Yeah, it was raining pretty heavy, but things are rolling right along. Been building projects for the new book, or upgrading the projects, and that's rolling really well. So we're actually on schedule for a December delivery to ARRL, and then we'll have a month or two of editing. So with any luck, this book will be out in time for Dayton, and it's looking good so far.
Well, that's great. Looking forward to seeing the new book or new books. And hey,
yeah,
I'm a little. Hey man,
right after this one,
I'm a little disappointed. We didn't get that storm you had to drive through today. I always like storms. Now we like the power outages here because we put the home generator in for the home now, and it comes on automatic, and we're down to about $900 cost per hour now with the home generator. So we need more outages. Well, hey, I'm glad you made it home there. Looks like your cats there are doing pretty good tonight.
That's the demon child. She's here. She was up here before I got in for the show, so she was ready and waiting.
Well, she knows it's Tuesday night, and she's ready for the show there. All right. Well, look, let's do it. Let's go ahead and hey, let's jump over to our two guests here. We got one guest that had to get up in the morning. It's 2:00 in the morning here. Jon Hudson, one of the founders of SDRplay. Jon is in here. Jon, I forget your call. Your call was G4. What was it? G4ABQ? Yeah, G4ABQ. How you doing, man? And sorry about having to get up so late or early.
It's 2:00 local UK time here.
Oh man!
So I'm not sure if it's morning or night, but it's actually Wednesday, I guess, technically.
Yeah.
And it's really great to be invited onto the show, Tom. So
Well, you know, it is Wednesday there again. You're in the future. We're in the past. So I know Glenn is going to ask for the lottery numbers, but please don't give them out. We're not allowed to do that. You know, on the show here. You can
you're allowed to give them out. I'll share with you.
You can shoot me a private email with them, though, if you know what they are, John. Well, hey, man, you're looking good there to have got up in the middle of the night or morning or whatever it is there. And we're going to talk about your SDR receivers tonight. And this is exciting to me. I got some questions, man. Hey, and who you have with you there? We've got Steve with us out in Colorado. Hey, Steve, come on in here and shoot us your call.
Yeah, good evening. This is Steve Brightman, KI5ENW, and I'm just getting acclimatized to moving from Dallas up to Colorado Springs, and I'm on mountain time, and really the only thing I'm here for tonight is to prod John if he falls asleep.
Okay, well,
but I'm here in case something comes up in response to questions and stuff. I might go off and research some stuff and get some further information.
Well, we're going to try to not let him fall asleep tonight. we're going to try our best. So, hey, let's just jump right into it, man. I'm really excited about the SDRplay and the different products. What's the designator of your little receiver there? The RSP1, I think?
That's right. So let me take a few minutes to just kind of talk through for those of you who may not be familiar with SDRplay, a bit about our background, where we came from, what we're doing, and the products and so on. And then after, 10, 15 minutes or so, we can start to maybe take questions and how it goes, really. So I think the key thing is, Tom, if you just shout if you can't hear something or see something, or and we'll get stuck in. So as I said, I'm Jon G4ABQ, one of the co-founders of SDRplay, which is a British company, and we're actually 8 years old now. It's a joint venture that was set up 8 years ago in conjunction with a UK chip company called Myrix. And Myrix really pioneered SDR technology for PCs. And there was a time, actually, when it looked like cell phones would, before the days of even smartphones, that you would have broadcast reception on your phone. If you remember, you used to have, FM radio using the headphone leads as antennas. You had people in Japan commuting to work, watching digital terrestrial TV. So there was a potential for some way of unlocking all that CPU power in your phone and being able to pick up broadcast reception anywhere from long wave, like in the UK we still have long wave broadcast radio, all the way through to kind of L-band. So Myrix really pioneered some chips, and then over time some of the hobbyists said, hey, look, these chips can make some really serious dongles. And we got together. My background was also in electronics, but I was kind of the token radio ham, as I got into ham radio, 55 years ago. I was playing with radios and kind of knew the ham community, and it was a real great coming together of a lot of expertise from the chip side, from kind of knowledge of some of the hobby interests, and we came together to create the RSP family, which I'm going to talk about. We're quite a small company. We're still only 7 employees. We've got Steve in Colorado. We've got Mike down in Florida. And these are the key guys who really provide technical support in the US time zone. And the rest of us are Brits. We're over here. I live in Bedford, about 1 hour north of London. And we're sprinkled across the country. And we're we're actually a virtual company even before the COVID came along. So we just come together when we need to, and we subcontract the manufacturing to other British companies. So in fact, we make our products in Peterborough and in Hartlepool. So in the south and the north of England, two separate subcontract companies actually do all the assembly, the test. Like I say, the chips were designed in the UK. It's very much a British company. We're registered. We pay taxes in the UK, and it's been a great success, really, thanks to this hobby community who've been so supportive of what we've done. I'll just take a minute. There's probably only a few people out there who really are still just thinking, what is this SDR stuff? I've still got my nice big box with bright, big knobs and dials, and what's it all about? Well, really, a software-defined radio is a radio communication system where the components that were traditionally done in hardware, so things like mixers, filters, amplifiers, modulators, demodulators, and so on, it's all done in software, and it's implemented on some kind of host computer. It could be a PC, some embedded system, and increasingly, it's moving to smaller and smaller, more portable computing devices. This is a block diagram which illustrates our entry product, the RSP1A. And the reason I'm showing it is just to give you a sense of what's in the hardware, because really we're putting in our hardware boxes everything needed to allow the software to do its stuff.
All right, now, John, I don't see the share. I guess you're sharing the screen now?
Yeah. Can you not see? Have you seen
now?
it?
Okay, I see that.
Yeah.
Now, wait a minute. Is that
Have you not
I'm seeing it sharing Zoom.
I'm not either. I'm seeing.
I know I am seeing
you
it.
are?
I'm seeing the block diagram of the RSP.
Okay, let me see if I can figure out how to get that in here. Something's not working quite right tonight. So I'm not seeing the share screen.
It says I am screen sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing it on my end.
Oh, that wasn't that good. That wasn't good.
Yeah, I'm seeing it here too.
Okay. Switch video and shared screen. There we go. Now I got you.
There it is.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, we got you up there now.
Okay, that's good. So I'm showing here the block diagram of our simplest entry-level product, the RSP1A, just by way of explaining what it is, the kind of stuff that goes into that hardware box. Over on the left-hand side here, you have a whole bunch of filters. One of the big issues with such a wideband reception is that all those signals, even the ones you don't want way out of band, are all there coming in, have the potential to cause all sorts of mixing products and artifacts, the kind of thing you get with a cheap dongle. And so we've got things like filters that can add 30 to 50 dBs of extra isolation against the big interferers like medium wave transmitters, FM transmitters. Over in Europe, we have DAB transmitters up in the 200 meg region. So we have some software selectable filters. Assuming you don't want to listen to those signals, you just turn those on and it just reduces the problems for the signals you want. There's obviously a bunch of gain stages. We've got a bias T circuit to power a remote masthead antennas and low noise amplifiers that may be closer to the antenna. And then at the heart of it, we've got all these bandpass filters, anything from up to 13 of these different bandpasses to segment the whole spectrum, because we cover from 1 kilohertz to 2 gigahertz. We split it such that depending on which band you're in, you're adding that extra selectivity and removing the unwanted signals around it. Once that's all done, there's an RF tuner and mixing circuit to then do the analog to digital conversion, and basically via the USB interface send a stream of ones and zeros off to the host computer that then does its stuff. So we have 3 products in our product range. The RSP1A I've kind of mentioned, and then I'm going to go on and talk about the RSPdx and the RSPduo. And a big part of our offering really is not just this hardware, it's the software, because really the software is what glues it all together, and that's what is constantly evolving. So if you buy the hardware today, you can expect the software to constantly improve, get better. And our main software that we provide is SDRUno. So a quick roundup of the capabilities of each of these RSPs. RSP was a terminology we came up with. It stands for Radio Spectrum Processor. It's really another TLA, a 3-letter acronym, but it is so much more than a dongle. We wanted to give it a kind of a handle, if you like. So they're all called RSPs. People refer to them as RSPs, but originally it's Radio Spectrum Processor. So the RSP1A, which was an upgrade of the very initial product we brought out, was the RSP1. So as do they all, it's what clean, and I really put the emphasis on clean coverage between 1 kilohertz and 2 gigahertz. So you're really spinning that dial anywhere across all that coverage, and you're able to get visibility of up to 10 megahertz of spectrum. And again, for those of you not familiar with SDR, probably the biggest difference compared to a traditional radio is the visibility. You're actually seeing those signals. You've got the ability to point and click, and your brain can assimilate a whole new dimension of information about. You can just bring up 40 meters and know instantly, aha, this is a day I want to go play on 40 meters. In a way that, I guess it doesn't take that long, but you spin the dial and have to listen in the traditional radio. So with the 1A, you get all-round functionality. It's got a single antenna port, and all the front-end filters and so on that I mentioned, and a whole bunch more. This is very much the entry-level product, and this is a great way if you've got friends, kind of retiring, probably played with radio years ago, and you want to kind of encourage them back into the hobby. This is a superb way to get them involved. And also with the emphasis more and more on things like Raspberry Pis and small board computers and so on at the other end of the spectrum, to attract those, teenage folk into what is becoming, a kind of a resurrected hobby, isn't it? As people get kind of cynical about the internet and also realizing it's not always there when you need it, then I think there is a growing interest in radio. And this is a great way to kind of kindle that interest. Just as an aside, all our RSPs, as well as being usable for our hobby, I mean, because of the professional engineering that's gone into it, our SDRUno actually doubles as a very accurate RF power meter. You can do field monitoring. You can create log files that you can put go back and analyze. So it's actually the sort of thing you can use at work as well, for those of you working in the radio field. There's a lot of third-party software out there, far too much to really go into, but one of the popular functions is the spectrum analyzer function, where you actually have the capability of a pretty good spectrum analyzer just with software running on Windows. So moving up, we have the RSPdx, which is the key here is it's got multiple antenna ports, because one of the things is when you've got such a wide spectrum from 1 kilohertz all the way up to 2 gigahertz. Really no one antenna will be adequate to really give a good performance across all those frequencies. You're going to need, probably a wideband UHF antenna, might be a disco or something. Down at LF, you may be using an active magnetic loop. You may have some favorite ham band antennas that you want to use, multiband, maybe for HF. So there's a very big requirement to be able to kind of software select the antenna for the particular frequencies you're suddenly interested in. And, rather than having to unplug, replug in the antenna, just having that software switch and separate antenna ports has been very, very popular. We've also enhanced the HF performance. The key thing about the RSPdx is below 2 megahertz. For those of you interested in, say, medium wave broadcast DX, listening for beacons down in LF and below, the other RSPs, can get overloaded, and so we've added extra software and some extra filtering for the people interested in those frequencies. There's an external clock input, so up at UHF and above, where you really want more accuracy than is provided by the built-in temperature-controlled crystal time-based, then you can synchronize with the GPS conditioned external clock input. And the other thing people comment on, it comes in a much more expensive, nice black steel case, so it really looks good on the bench. So that's the RSPdx. And then our kind of top product is the RSPduo, which goes the next step of giving you 2 receivers in one. So you can, just like with the other RSPs, you can select up to 10 megahertz of visibility anywhere across the spectrum, or you can go into dual tuner mode and have 2 separate slots of up to 2 megahertz visibility, which is great for simultaneous monitoring of widely spaced bands. It's also great for, on the same frequency, having, for example, you can compare in real time between 2 antennas. So, and then on the software side, with SDRUno, we have some diversity software, which allows for signal enhancing and further kind of noise reduction. So that's a real exciting top of the range device. Like I say, it's got 2 simultaneous tuners, and it all still goes through the one USB interface. And here's just a screenshot, showing 40 meters at the bottom, at the top. You could go into this split screen mode where, say, you've basically got the two receivers, and we've got some airband up on the top screen here. You can mix and match applications because the signals coming out of the 2 tuners can be routed to totally separate software programs running on your computer. And some of the people who are really into aircraft tracking and so on, they might be using one of the receivers for monitoring the air traffic control on VHF, and the other one up at 1 gig decoding the ADS-B telemetry signals that all the aircraft transmit. This is just a quick look at the control panels for the Duo. And the way it does this diversity tuning is it automatically will tune for what's called the maximum ratio combination. So it's all the time comparing the signals coming in on the through the 2 separate tuners and adjusting them to ensure they are in phase to add the signals together for the maximum signal. And of course, in interference mode, in kind of rejection of interference, you you do the opposite. You subtract the unwanted signal from the wanted signal. Here's a screenshot, just when you're comparing two antennas in real time. So these tuners are both tuned to in 40 meters to 7.103.050, I think. And because the HF conditions are constantly changing, if you listen to one antenna and then you unplug it and put the other one in, you're never really sure whether it's the conditions going up and down, or one antenna is truly better, especially if they're hard to compare. So that's that. On our website, there's a comparison chart and a lot of information that summarizes all those capabilities, the differences of the various RSPs. Okay, are you still seeing the screen? Okay, Tom.
Yes, we are.
Good.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the software, since this is such a key part of what we're about. So, as I say, we have our own software, SDRUno, and I'm going to come on and talk a bit more about that and the roadmap for that, and the way we're heading for our complete rewrite, which is called SDR Connect. But in parallel with that, we have all along provided low-level support for our hardware for those people who want other platforms, Mac, Linux, Android, and so on. But we've just provided the API. And I think initially we thought by providing an API that, the other software that runs on those other platforms would be adequate. But we've learned a lot along the way and realized that actually people do want something that out of the box just works on those other platforms. SDRUno, our own software, we took over from an Italian developer 4 years ago, and we've really tailored it. It used to be called Studio One, and you had to pay, I think, $179 just for the software. So we bought that software and took it on board and have been developing it ever since. And those of you who use SDRUno, I'm sure, are aware of some of the limitations which over time, as technology improves, have we've not been able to take full advantage of, for example, some of the scaling capabilities with high performance graphics cards and high resolution monitors and so on. So that's why we're doing a complete rewrite, which I'll come on to. But meanwhile, for those of you with other platforms, there are options. There's Cubic SDR that runs on Linux, and also Spark SDR and SDR++. So SDRUno at the moment, we've just released in the last few weeks 1.42, which has got some enhancements to the memory panel system. We've improved the scanner. We've got it running faster. You'll see now we do these build versions. So in fact, you can see from the number, the build number is actually the month and date. So July 20th, we released the stuff at the top. Then a week later, we fixed, there was a bug there, and we also updated our API. And the big one, on August 17th, we released what we call custom band framing. And what band framing is you can probably see above me here on the backdrop, those little that little grid of buttons, which allows people to, instead of actually choosing what frequency they want, what mode of, is it upper sideband, lower sideband, they just click on 40 meters and it instantly goes to lower sideband. It frames the band, but it just frames it, I guess, to cover the US band of 7 to 7.3 megs, And all the Europeans moan because they say, well, hang on a minute, in Europe, we only go up to 7.2. So this type of thing caused a lot of interest in having custom band framing. Other people may be only interested in CW. So I just want to see, the bottom 70 kilohertz of the band or whatever it is. So we've now introduced custom band framing where you can actually define your own bands. So that was released literally last month in August, and we've got a few more things coming in the coming weeks. But the big next step is SDR Connect, and I'm going to talk a few more minutes on that, and then we'll throw it open to questions and so on. And SDR Connect is this cross-platform capability. It's a complete rewrite of SDR Uno. So we were talking about SDR Uno version 2. We've basically renamed it, given it a new name to reflect the fact it's a complete rewrite. But for those of you who like the exact current look and feel and all the features in SDR Uno, we will be continuing to support that. It's just we won't be adding new features because, things like over the last couple of years, we've added a scanner, we've added, so many extra things. We won't be adding those big jumps in capability to SDR Uno. It will be SDR Connect. And this will run on ARM, on macOS, Linux, obviously Windows and Android. One of the big new things is remote server and client software to really give you the experience that when you're away from home or away from that nice low noise monitoring environment where you've set up your RSP and you can go anywhere on the planet and over the internet access your remote RSP. It's something that we've never really been able to do properly in SDR Uno, so this will be a really big plus. It is a complete rewrite of the GUI. The graphical user interface is completely rewritten. It'll be a much more consistent user interface. At the moment, if you kind of alt-tab between different software on your Windows PC, some of the windows that form the current user interface, they're not all held together, and you have to kind of separately bring them back one by one. Things like that will be much better. It'll be more intuitive, easier to use. A lot of people say, I love it. Well, it's, they love it once they get to know it, but it's a little bit of a learning curve. It's not quite as intuitive as some people would like. We've really tried to listen to our customers and address that with the rewrite, which is SDR Connect. And it's going to be compatible with all the current RSPs, obviously, and also with the RSP2 and the RSP2 Pro products, which were discontinued 3 years ago. But we won't be able to support the old RSP1. But obviously, people can continue to use SDR Uno for that. The status is we've done all the rewrite. We've got the core DSP engine working for Spectrum and Waterfalls. We might be able to have time to even do a quick demo, just showing the capability there. We've got it working cross-platform, and we've got the networking capability working over the internet. In fact, we did a demo at Dayton where Steve was up in Dayton, and he was remotely accessing with the SDR Connect prototype software and RSPdx here back in the UK. That there's not a lot to see, but that's the really hard work. The remaining work, which we're going all out for a December 1st release, is getting the new graphical user interface out, which will retain the style and the popular features, but address some of those criticisms of what we have today. Just a couple of extra points for those of you who, again, trying to attract people to radio is something I know a lot of people want to do. With a wideband RSP, a general coverage receiver of this caliber, there's a lot of other things you can do rather than just listening to rag chewing and people sort of moaning about the state of the world constantly, which we all do, I know, on the ham bands. And you could read them for yourself here, and this list is being added to all the time. For information, everything, our website, we've tried to make it as user-friendly as we can. Just about everything you need is on our website, SDRplay.com, and there's big bold buttons for the things that people most need, like information about the product, obviously where to buy it, and this third one down on the right, the software, because once you go into the software choices, we have various ways of guiding you through based on your particular configuration of hardware, which RSP, which computer you're using, which software you're using. And probably the other thing is the help side of things is something that we really do try to do our best at. We have a very rigorous help system so that anyone can raise a ticket, and then that ticket is logged, and we do our very best to close it off as quickly as possible. And, you know, with Steve and Mike over there in the US, that means daytime US coverage is pretty good. And as you can see, we get up at all times of night here in the UK as well. So we can come back and talk a bit more about the website. Here's just under the miscellaneous button, all the other resources available to people. There's sort of hints and tips around antennas. There's a regular blog. Probably the community links is one of the most powerful, because that then gives you links to things like the Facebook groups, the independent forums on groups.io and so on, where there are thousands of people who actually, chances are, have tried to do what you want to do with your RSP. And it's a very friendly community. You can come along and you'll get a lot of advice and tips and help from other users. So, and then bottom left there, documentations and videos. We've built up a huge library of how-to videos. And Mike down in Florida, KD2 KOG, has been a huge contributor to that, as has Steve there. So you can search. There's a search bar, and you can get relevant help to all the normal type of things you might need help on. We have a growing number of plugins, which are extra programs which seamlessly interface to SDRuno to do things like annotating the spectrum with signals and so on. So we can talk a bit about that. But I'm very conscious I've rambled on here for nearly half an hour, so I'd like to maybe just take a break here, Tom, and just see if there's any questions coming in through the chat, and we can make it a bit more interactive.
Sure, and I've got a bunch of questions here I've jotted down during your talk there. Let's see if we can bring you back in here. If I can figure out how to do this, let me look here. Let's see what that does. Well,
I think he has to stop sharing first.
All right, I think I've got you all. I got you guys on, plus a picture of all of us going to infinity. I don't need that. All right, so. All right, hey, great job here, John. I mean, I got a lot of questions, and there have been a few in the chat room there discussing it. Boy, and they're in no specific order. So, hey, this is going to be a shoot questions at you, and we're gonna try to answer them. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So let's see. Well, hey, first, let me say thank you very much for donating an RSP1 prize for our Huntsville Hamfest. That was a great prize, and I'm not sure who won it. We gave out so many prizes, but that was a great prize. Maybe the person that won that prize is in the chat room tonight. So, hey, if you won the RSP1 in the chat room, tell us who you were tonight. So thank you, John, for doing that. So you've already shown there are other applications of this. There's commercial applications and in industry and commercial applications.
That's right.
And let's talk about the software, the SDR software. Other people's software will work with this, won't it?
That's right. I mean, probably it's hard to say which other software is most popular, but traditionally HDSDR, which was probably the first most rugged popular software that people were using for dongles, it hasn't been added to a lot, but it's good, solid, out of the box, pretty easy to use software, and that will work with our RSPs. When you get to the RSPduo, because of the extra complexity and some of the features there, things like diversity tuning and simultaneous display of two independent tuners, those kind of things won't work. But even HDSDR, you can launch two instances of HDSDR and have the two tuners running simultaneously. So HDSDR is a great one. That's Windows only. There's also Simon Brown, who has SDR console, and he has always supported our RSPs, both his older version 2 and now version 3, which works pretty well. And there are people who like SDR console.
John, can I jump in on you here for a second?
Yeah, go right ahead.
While we're talking about this, the Cubic SDR has been around for a long time and was the program of choice for Mac users, and I count myself as a Mac user. It does support the Duo in dual tuner mode, but it does not do diversity, as you pointed out. But in the Mac world, I think the most exciting development recently has been SDR++. And that now has native support for all the RSPs. Again, it doesn't have diversity tuning, but it does have dual tuner support for the RSPduo. So just want to point that out.
No, that's a good point.
So here's a question. I in some of the things we do in ham radio, sometimes we need to listen in at these remote, the Kiwi receivers, the SDR receivers across the world, and maybe tune in Russia so we can hear something locally, or when we're tracking a Pico balloon or something. So my question tonight, before you came in here, was, is it possible to use one of your RSP1s as a remote SDR? And I think you talked about that under your, SDR Connect.
Yes, so obviously our new software is all about doing exactly that and giving you the same experience as you have if it was plugged in directly into your local computer. The way you can do it today is, SDR console supports remote access. We also have TCP server software. So running on something like a Raspberry Pi, which is a nice low-cost environment, you can remotely access your RSP with any software that has what's called an XTIO interface. So we have an old version of SDR which still has an XTIO interface, so you can use that. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles that have been introduced in the last 3 years. And you can also remote in with HDSDR, and I don't know, Steve, if you want to add to what remote capabilities we have.
Yeah, that's about it for now, John. I think what was exciting, and I got a kick out of it myself, was you mentioned I did a demo at Dayton Hamvention this year, and I was running an early version of SDR Connect on an M1 Mac at the show, connecting back to a server that was at John's location back in the UK, and it worked surprisingly well. And I know sometimes when you have this remote software for accessing things over the internet, you have problems when when there's problems with connectivity over the internet. It tends to drop out, and then you have to kind of start over and reconnect. And SDR Connect seems to be extremely robust. And yes, I saw a few glitches where the signals would freeze for a few seconds, but then it picked right back up. I never had to stop the software, restart it, or anything. So, I would agree. John mentioned SDR Console, which I think today is probably the best way of achieving remote connectivity. But I think when Connect comes along, it's going to pretty much be the preferred way of doing it. And
So,
I'm going to kick it back to you, John, because I don't know anything about it. But do you want to mention something like WebSDR?
Yeah, I was going to. There are these things like WebSDR where people hook up their RSPs to it. So they will work with our RSPs as well. This is where you provide your radio for multiple access. If you just do a Google on WebSDR, you can see the.
So that was one of my questions. One of my questions, John. So if I wanted to set up a remote receiver, SDR receiver, for people to use, there are people out there that are using the WebSDR with like an RSP1. And my question is, can multiple people? How does that work? Can multiple people tune on an RSP1? Can you have 4 or 5 different people listening at different places, or?
So with the if you use something like SDR Console, that's very much whoever grabs it has control, and then they have complete control, so they can go anywhere. Obviously, if it's a third-party system, it's whatever antenna they've connected.
Sure.
But you could choose, if it's an HF antenna, to go from top band to 10 or whatever. If it's WebSDR, then it's a case of whoever's got it first will set the spectrum which is accessible to other users. They're all a little bit different, but you're very much dependent on whoever's grabbed it first, and you can set different rules. You can, I think, you can even password protect and have it so only you can do it in the same way that SDR Console works.
Yeah. Now you mentioned the I think the SDR Connect software. You guys bought a company. I guess it developed it.
So
is there a charge? Is there a charge for the SDR Connect software?
No, not at all. No, we provide that free of charge with our hardware. So if you buy an RSP1A today, in December when SDR Connect comes out, you get to download that and run it. The thing we bought was called Studio One back in 2017. It was developed in Italy, and that was what used to cost $179. And what you had was like a security dongle that came, and you had to to prove that you'd paid your money. And this was very, very popular, but at that price, it wasn't probably, selling in the tens of thousands. So, but it had such good feedback particularly in the DSP technology, the quality of the audio, the noise filtering and so on. We thought this is a really good start. If we take this, we can do something with it. So we took it over, And so all the releases of SDR Uno over the last 4 years have been incremental improvements, coupled with one or two complete new capabilities, like the scanner, for example, the scanning software, which we added. About a year ago, probably 18 months ago, we started working on our cross-platform software. And that work has been going on to the point where, as Steve says, in Dayton, we were able to demonstrate the complete rewrite of the core technology needed for SDR Connect. So SDR Connect is written by SDRplay. It's totally ours, and we will make it available to our customers who have our hardware. It will work for the RSP1A, the RSPdx, the RSPduo, the RSP2, the RSP2 Pro. The very early RSP1, it won't work for that. But that was the product that it was obsoleted, I think, in 2017.
Are you required to lock out any frequencies by the government there, or where you sell these in different countries, cellular or anything?
The thing that we had to do with the scanning software was to lock out the ability to scan across the cellular frequencies, because that's a requirement of US legislation. So,
is that a software-defined lockout, or is that in the hardware?
It's purely the our SDR Uno scanning software does not allow you to scan that capability. But because, if you think about it, the actual hardware, it's the hardware and software together makes it really the receiver.
Right.
The hardware itself is obviously open to pick up whatever signals are through that. Each country has its own laws about what you can do with a radio. I mean, even to the point listening to air traffic control, I think in some countries you're not really meant to do that. And with a lot of this stuff, there's the thing where you might hear stuff which is not designed for your consumption, and then it is an offence to share that information with a third party. Whatever those rules are, it's the same as with any other general coverage receiver.
So how good is this thing really? I mean, if I had a transmitter, let's say I don't have a transceiver, if I just had me a ham transmitter, could I actually take this SDRplay, make it my receiver, and it would have great selectivity and sensitivity? Would it be be equivalent to a transceiver?
In a kind of listening test, you just take any regular Kenwood ICOM or and side by side, it's pretty close. I wouldn't say that we're going to have have something a lot better, but the fact that we're a 14-bit A to D gives us a dynamic range which is approaching and close to what's achievable in a regular receiver.
So,
you could argue some of those noise blanking and noise features actually take you the next step, and the ability to notch, and then you're into the user interface, can give you an edge versus what's there on.
So I kind of look at the Flex radio, and how it's advertised. I guess you got all the software filters. You can just do all kinds of wonders with that. It seems like you can do the same thing with this.
Yeah, Flex. Flex is very much up here. That's a 16-bit radio. That is, is going to have the edge on our performance. But you're looking at a radio that's 10 times the cost. Mm-hmm. So I think we're.
I think, John, that there's another factor when you're comparing it to Flex. Who make great radios? They were just down the road from me when I was in Dallas, down in Austin. And although they and us are both using SDR techniques in the sense that everything's defined in software, the end goal with a Flex transceiver is a little bit different than what we're trying to do. Because what a Flex is trying to do is receive and transmit on a specific frequency. So in a sense, it's a bit like a conventional, superhet type radio. Selectivity is very important to them. And they're using these SDR techniques to do the best they can, a bit like you said there, Tom. But in our case, since we're a receiver only, we tend to want to look at a wider swathe of the spectrum, okay? Because we're geared all about receiving. So John mentioned very early on when he was introducing the RSPs, the fact that essentially we're wide open. We can't use a superhead equivalent to narrow it down because we want to see that full 10 megahertz sometimes. So we use the pre-select filters and the notch filters for things like DAB and medium wave and FM to try and give us the best compromise of the widest span we can look at and still be able to eliminate all those unwanted imaging products that can show up in the back. And if you were to look at the history of our radios, going from the RSP1 to the 2 to the 1A, you'll see progressively we've improved that filtering capability to do the best we possibly could for a receive-only type device. Hopefully that makes some sense.
That's a very good point, Steve. Yeah.
So I hear you mentioning the 10 megahertz bandwidth there. If I use this as a spectrum analyzer, and I want to look at, say, the second and third harmonic of 20 meters, I mean, can I actually look at 50 megahertz bandwidth here, or am I limited to 10?
No, with the spectrum analyzer software, which is it's a third-party software developed by a guy in Australia, but it actually stitches together. I think it actually does two megahertz steps and just scans the full 50 meg, whatever you want. You can, in fact, you can scan from kilohertz to gigahertz. It just takes a bit longer, and it just stitches together, and you see the waveform appear. So you can see your third harmonic, fifth harmonic, however much you want to look at.
So here's a question from N7XGR. He says, does the ICOM RC28 work with the UNO with regards to changing the frequency? I don't even know what I'm asking.
Okay, I think what he's saying is he's obviously interested in using it as a Panadapter, which is a very common use where you've got your existing transceiver and you just want to add this fantastic visual display to it.
Right.
Which and there are some limitations with certain rigs where you can or can't control SDR UNO, because I don't know, Steve, if you want to pick this up as the author of our Panadapter resource there, in terms of just describing briefly how Panadapter works.
There's two things I should talk about here, because firstly, you've actually answered the wrong question. I looked it up real quick. The ICOM RC28 is actually a USB encoder. So it is more like a teammate, I think. And what a teammate is a rotary encoder device with some push buttons. And we do actually have a teammate server built into SDR UNO. So we are compatible with the teammate. There's also one of the plugins, and John didn't go into plugins very much, but there's a plugin available for SDR UNO that will work with the Contour Shuttle Express and the more sophisticated one. When we're talking about the ICOM RC28, today, just now, was the first time I'd ever heard of it, so I have no idea how compatible we might be with that. So that's the correct answer to the original question. But I do appreciate John trying to get us into the subject of Panadapters, because, as you may know, that's one of my favorite topics. Mm-hmm. And that comes down to, and it kind of gets back to what you were talking about earlier, Tom, about enjoying the benefits of the features of SDR UNO and an RSP in conjunction with the conventional transceiver, because you can certainly lock the two together. So you can use an RSP is essentially the receive side and have the advantage of seeing that up to full 10 megahertz of spectrum. So you can see where all the signals are. And then you can click on that signal and you can make SDR Uno send a command back to your rig to tune it to that same frequency. And we use a piece of third-party software, it's free, called OmniRig to do that. And that makes an extremely powerful combination. And we've all seen the fancy icons and the Asus that have the little band scope displays on them. And I think, well, John's the only one not wearing glasses here that I see, but my eyes can't see those small displays very well, whereas I can put SDR Uno's frequency spectrum up on a huge monitor and look at it and see all those signals, and then it's just a simple click away to tune my rig to that same frequency. So
Well,
I can monitor the whole band in Uno. If I see a signal, I can click on it. If someone's calling CQ, I can just pick up the mic on my rig and respond immediately.
So let me read Bruce's comment here. It might help clarify a little bit or give us more information. He said the RC28 is an outboard VFO that plugs into the 7610, and I didn't even know that. I've got a 7610. I didn't know that. It says running the HDSDR program and plugging it into the PC, I can change the frequency in the HD SDR. I'm lost.
Well, yeah, again, I just looked it up, and it said it's a controlled USB encoder. And what I just described for a Panadapter works both ways. The only rig I've got here that I use locally is a Kenwood, a TS590SG, okay? And I have a choice. I can hook the two together through OmniRig. And if I see a signal in Uno and I click on it, it will tune the Kenwood to that same frequency. Conversely, if I spin the dial on the front of the Kenwood to change the frequency, it will change the frequency back in SDR Uno. So I think we're achieving the same thing. But again, like you, I've not encountered the RC28 before.
What's not clear, I think, Tom, is he saying he has a specific problem, or is this just a general interest question?
Well, I think he's doing it, or somehow, or wanting to do it.
He may be seeing a limit. If he's seeing a limitation, it might be worth him raising a ticket on our help system, specifically asking the question. That
Again. HDSDR also uses OmniRig for synchronizing to a transceiver, okay? So if he has this ICOM RC28, which is actually serving as a tuning knob for the IC7610, then if it's hooked to HDSDR through OmniRig, then yes, when he changes the frequency using this knob on the 7610, it will be reflected in HDSDR and vice versa. In which case, you could certainly do exactly the same thing with SDR Uno, and we have plenty of people that have interfaced Uno to an IC7610 through OmniRig. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, so I'm really interested in things like the spectrum analyzer and a power meter and so forth. What type level of power can this?
So we are limited to 1 milliwatt or 0 dBm power levels is the maximum continuous signal strength that should ever appear at the antenna port.
So you could use an external 20 dB attenuator or something like that.
Yeah, you just need to add attenuators accordingly. And with experimentation, obviously if you've got powerful transmitters in the shack and you're doing measurements, the important thing is to start low, just check those levels are not exceeding.
Yeah.
We actually say 10, you can go to 10 milliwatts, 10 dBm for short periods. That's our kind of recommended level.
Okay.
The problem is where people... Really, the only damage happens either from lightning strike. The big killers of these kind of wideband SDRs is lightning strikes, static, and just blowing them up with just hundreds of watts. In very close proximity, particularly on HF, where you're in the near field of the transmitting antenna.
I'd like to just add briefly to that. You can't quite see it over John's shoulder in the background there, or even over my shoulder, but SDR Uno is kind of unique in the software field in that the spectrum shows out a reading in dBm, not dB full scale or any other arbitrary dB reference. So we actually have gain tables built into the software. So what you're seeing when you look at the spectrum in SDR Uno is the actual power level arriving at the antenna input. And I did a video a while back that talked about near field coupling, because that's of concern to people, because they may have one antenna they're using for transmitting on their rig, and they may have a separate receive-only antenna they're using to feed an RSP. And you can try and do calculations based on the frequency of operation and the separation and the relative position. But as John mentioned, if you start transmitting at a low level and monitor that transmit frequency in SDR Uno, as you progressively increase the power output, you can see the signal level rise in SDR Uno. And you can see whether your near field coupling is getting anywhere near that 0 dBm limit. Okay, so that's a real nice feature of SDR Uno, and I'm not sure that I know of any other SDR software that is calibrated in that fashion.
All right. So what are the new ham bands now? Is it 630 meters or 1200 or I don't even remember. It's been a while now since they came out. You know the ones I'm talking about?
Yeah. In fact, we've got them there. You can see behind me at the top here. It's a little bit fuzzy, but along the top row, I think that is the low bands. There's the 2200, the 630.
2200, yeah.
And these are different in different regions of the world, but they're kind of experimental bands. And the great thing is, they're well covered by our.
So I've been wanting to play in that area. Like you, John, I've been a ham now almost 60 years, and this is just something new. And I like to build stuff. And knowing now that I could use an RSP1A for the 630 meter band or the 2200 meter band receiver, all I got to do is come up with a transmitter
I think the other thing is that obviously the antenna technology
Yeah.
down there is also quite challenging as well, because although there are some active magnetic loops now which are going pretty low, but I think the real enthusiasts, they wind
all I
these,
have to do basically is come up with a 10,000 foot antenna, and it should work there. So but you
people
know,
do everything. There's even ground rods and all sorts. So
that opens the door. At least I could listen on those bands to see what I can hear.
Exactly.
You know?
This is where the RSPdx has this extra capability for these low frequencies. I mean, all the RSPs will work down there, but you'll get even better performance with an RSPdx.
That's why the DX is very popular amongst people that go searching for NDBs, non-directional beacons. Not that there's that many left anymore, but the DX is really good down there.
Yeah. And we've got over here in Europe, we've got a very active community. I suspect some of them may be tuned in, even though this is a US show. Up in Finland, I think it's the long winter evenings, but they just love medium wave DXing. I mean, we've got it's such a big thing, and they have these mile-long antennas up in the north of Finland, and they get, they pick up, Radio Brighton on medium wave, and it's get very excited because it really is so hard to do.
So I guess there's no software package that includes your SDR radio plus things like Whisper or FT8. Do you have to run those as separate packages?
As Steve said, we didn't really have time. I didn't take time to talk about our plugins capability, but maybe I could just share my screen and just show you where they occur. Let me just,
and there's another. While you're doing it, there's one more question. I'm not sure. Can you take a moment to speak about support for GNU radio, RSP1A specifically? Do I understand the question?
Yes, GNU radio. We'll come on to that. Let me just share the screen here. So So this is, can you now see this is the
Yes, that's-
standard
yeah.
sort of SDR Uno screen?
Yeah, we see it.
And actually, the zoom controls are slightly blanking out. There's the this little window up here is the plugin window, and you'll see a bunch of different plugins, which are a combination of whatever plugins we provide, as well as any third-party
Do you
plugins that you may
have do you have like Slow Scan TV as a plugin?
So what we have is right, Slow Scan TV. Steve, help me here. Which one would you recommend we show?
We don't actually have one per se for Slow Scan TV, but I believe that if you use the Black Cat Systems plugin, it will interface to the Black Cat software that does do SSTV decoding.
Okay.
So
right.
that I want to point out that Black Cat software is paid for, the plugin's free, and all the plugin does, it saves you having to set up shared COM ports and virtual audio cables and stuff like that. But there is, do you not have the FT8 plugin? Didn't Jan release one of those recently, John?
He did. I don't think I've got it.
So just to give you some context, the plugin system was developed specifically for people that wanted to expand the capabilities of SDR Uno, and we already knew we wanted to produce SDR Connect. And as John mentioned, we're a small team, so we don't really have the ability to go off and keep adding one plugin after another. So we opened it up to third-party developers, and some really good stuff's come out of it. Fran is my favorite for Frequency Annotator, and you can download the various shortwave databases and stuff, and it will actually put the names of the stations up on the spectrum when they appear in SDR Uno. And like I say, I mentioned the Contour Shuttle plugin that we just went through. And here we go. CW, Navtex, RTTY, PSK, FT8, and DRM plugins. Jan is the guy that developed QTDAB, and he's done a lot of other plugins that you can download from GitHub and put into SDR Uno, and it makes it really easy to do FT8. Historically, what you'd have to do is run a piece of third-party software like Multi-PSK or FLDigi, DSD Plus. I mean, there's so many, and Uno has always been designed to be able to talk to them using virtual audio cables and virtual COM ports. But what these authors have done is they have generated these plugins that you can just download, and they've become available to SDR Uno, and it makes it much easier to use them.
So here's the RTTY example, Tom. So it's all there. If you go to the, basically all the plugin resource links are on a page called sdrplay.com/plugins, which you can get to from the miscellaneous section. And all the links are down here. You just click on whatever you're interested in.
I want to pick something and show it to you.
Actually, while there's a little lull, I wanted to mention something else. It didn't come up during John's earlier presentation, but along the way, when we were developing SDR Uno, we added a feature called Profiles. And it kind of relates to talking about the band framing buttons. Because what a profile does, it lets you save all the particular settings you have. So, for example, if you're only interested in CW on 40 meters, you don't really care going all the way from 7.0 to 7.3. You just want to be down at the low end. So you can change the settings so that you only see the CW portion of that band. You can also save your antenna selection if you're interested in that, the gain settings and everything else, and save that as a profile. And then you can recall that profile at a later date, and you don't have to concentrate on moving the display back and forth to just narrow down on the particular areas of interest. And that also gets back to the philosophy of leaving SDR Uno and moving on to to SDR Connect. We've added so many features since we acquired the rights to the software and made it our own. As John mentioned, we added the scanner, we've added memory banks, we've added the profiles, now the custom band framing. And what we've done is we've done our best to try and keep adding these features on top of each other. But as you can imagine, at the end of the day, you've got something that becomes a little bit top-heavy and unwieldy. And if you knew you wanted all those features on day one, you'd implement them a little bit differently. Because there's considerable overlap. You know, you've got one way of saving the workspaces on the screen, you've got another way of saving frequencies of interest, you've got another way of saving profiles, and then you've got band select buttons. So at a certain point, you've got to say, hey, stop. We need to restart our thinking and put it together in a nice user-friendly fashion. And hence, that's why we have SDR Connect coming out.
So look, here's another question for you. What level PC do we need to run in? I don't know if you're familiar, but you probably have seen this, Steve. In the U.S., they're selling these little laptops here for $60 that Evolve 3. It's just a little, it doesn't have a hard, it's got a solid state hard drive in it. And but I'm just wondering if something like that would run your software.
Let me take that one, John, because there's actually, you'll find two videos. If you go to that video catalog that John mentioned, I did one that said, how much PC do you need to run SDR Uno? And Mike, my colleague, Mike down in Florida, he did one as well. And the answer is, it depends. I had, I still have, I've got a little netbook somewhere that was dirt cheap. And does it run SDR Uno? The answer is yes. Does it run it very well? The answer is no. I also built a demo that I've been taking to some of the ham shows around the US, where I bought one of those little mini PCs with an Atom Core processor in it, and I mounted that on the back of a panel along with an RSP1A, and I made the whole thing run off 12 volts, so I can just plug it into the cigarette lighter outlet in my van. And the problem is, it depends on how much performance you want to get out of SDR Uno. If you want to run that full 10 megahertz of bandwidth, it's going to get very hard to do that on an underpowered PC. And then it becomes further confused when you go beyond what are you doing in Uno, but you also want to be running a Zoom call, you want to be running Skype, you want to be doing word processing, you want to be doing your mail. So like I say, it very much depends. But if you wanted a general recommendation that would allow you to run SDR Uno flat out, run some other software with it, be it multi-PSK or Ham Radio Deluxe or whatever, we would say a Core i5 processor would be the minimum. Probably at least 8 gigs of RAM. And personally, I wouldn't buy a PC anymore if it didn't have an SSD drive in it rather than a spinning drive. Yeah. It's just so much quicker.
So the only thing is that it's no good on Chromebooks, is it, Steve?
No.
For example, so I'm not sure what that thing that Tom was waving.
I'm not sure either.
Is it True Window? Is it a Win?
Yeah, it's Windows 10. It's Windows 10.
Yeah.
And you know, hey, the price is right. I just bought one just to play with it and look at it, and
it's got a USB socket.
It does basic stuff pretty good, you know.
Yeah.
It's got a USB socket. Is the other key thing.
Yeah, it's got two. It's got HDMI output, and it's got two USB 3s, and it runs on 12 volts. It's interesting.
Yeah, that's kind of what I did with the mini PC, just to see if it would do it. And like I say, for HF, you know, you don't typically want to look at 10 megahertz of spectrum, right? You've got 500 kilohertz is more than enough. But it's not the most satisfying experience, and that's why I say an i5. I don't know what you've got in that book you've got there. I think my first netbook was also an Atom Core, like a Z2580 or something. I forget what the numbers are.
Yeah.
So it, you know, don't say, well, this guy from SDRplay said I could run it on a cheap netbook, and now I'm trying to do it and it doesn't run, because we recommend something a bit more powerful so that you get a good experience and you don't get audio stuttering and so on. And I don't know whether the view over John's shoulder is better than mine. Right up in the top left corner, you can see that there's an activity meter in the upper left window. It says SDR and there's a certain percentage.
Oh, yeah, like CPU usage or something?
Certain percentage.
Yeah.
And that's a measure of the load going on your CPU. So if that system percentage starts bumping up towards the high end, you're going to have problem. The audio is going to start stuttering and so on and so forth. But it's very much dependent on the bandwidth you're trying to get out of SDR Uno and also what else you're running on that machine at the same time.
Yeah. Well, I would think something like that, you'd want to limit it to maybe just one application if you could, just kind of dedicate it to that. And you might, like you say, you might get by if you don't want to run it at maximum capacity, don't do a 10 meg, do a,
That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to get something that, I could run in the van. I got myself a little wire loop antenna that I can break down, and then I hold it on the back of the van with suction cups. So if I'm out camping, I can still do some nice HF listening or shortwave. It's really good.
All right, well, guys, I think we've had a good discussion tonight. There's a lot of interest. People are saying in the chat room how interesting our discussion was tonight. So I think this was really, really good there. If people have questions, they can go to your website or can they email you? How should they get in touch with you?
The website is, if you want to just make general comments that we will read, but don't require a specific answer, then you can send emails to feedback@sdrplay.com. The other thing is, if it's kind of general use of an SDRplay RSP, then those forums, the community links, are a great way to get a real rich cross-section of comments and replies. And then, as you're showing there on the website, if you go over to the right, scroll right a little bit.
Scroll right.
Tom, I don't know if you...
Let's see, I can, got to go right. Yeah. Okay, I can do that. Watch this.
Go right a bit. The buttons on the right-hand side there's a help button.
Yeah, okay.
Which has links to all our help resources, and
what we did
you can
was
raise a
we
ticket.
analysed all the support tickets we got to see what were the common questions, because we get asked the same things over and over again. And that went into the design of the help section, and it will reference you to videos down a bit from there, Tom. It will send you to, it will show you videos or app notes that answer the questions. And then if you don't find the answer there at the bottom, you have the option to open up a support ticket. And the support ticket's important because, we are a small company, but we're also global. So if you put it into the ticket system, whoever's awake at that time of day will be able to answer it. So either the guys in the UK will see it, or Mike or myself in the US will see what's going on. And if for whatever reason they allow us to take vacation, which they don't do very often, or we're sick or something, then somebody else can pick up the slack. Whereas if you just send emails, you're not necessarily going to get that response.
And for those of you in cities where you have a local ham radio outlet, then if you drop by them, they should be able to answer face-to-face questions about the RSPs. And that's a great place to go buy one, HRO. Yeah. I think, they're in many cities across the US.
About 20 stores around the US. And I guess I should give them a little plug. If anyone's up in the Milwaukee area, Superfest is coming up next month, and I plan on attending. It's a little show they put on inside the store up there, and they have a bunch of vendors with tables out the back. I will be demonstrating SDR Uno in the store, and I also hope to be showing SDR Connect again if I can get an internet connection going. So it'd be great to see anybody that's in the Milwaukee vicinity or is planning on traveling that way at Superfest.
All right, well, very good. Hey, guys, thanks so much for coming on here with us tonight. We enjoyed it. I learned a lot, and I'm going to start playing with an RSP1A here and see what all I can do.
Well, we
with
really
it.
appreciate being invited
Yeah.
along. It's a great show, and we're really we should do it more often.
Well, and we can do that, and of course the show is recorded. People are, most of our people that watch us, they'll be watching it tomorrow and days forward. It's always out there as one of the shows. We have about 700 shows, I guess, recorded, but a lot of people will tune in to our podcast and our shortwave transmission, and also
and we'll put a link to it from our webinars page as well. So
that would be great.
That'd
be great. So I'm going to move on to a couple updates and some things we're doing. We're flying a Pico balloon around the world right now. I want to give everybody an update on what's going on there, where it is. It's over Russia right now. So hey, John and Steve, thank you very much. And you guys are welcome to stick around with us. John, I know it's the middle of the night there. You stick around a few minutes if you want to, or go to bed, whatever you want to do.
I think I might just go get some sleep.
Okay.
It's been a really great...
Thanks for having us, Tom. I'll sit here and listen, see what's going on.
Okay, well, very good, Steve. Okay, and we'll say good night to you, John. Thank you again.
Yeah. Bye, everyone, and thanks very much for listening.
All right. So, hey, guys, let's take just a quick break here. We'll be right back, and then I'll give you an update on what's going on with some other things.
LDG Electronics provides state-of-the-art antenna tuners for every amateur need. From QRP to QRO, fixed stations, portable and remote, an LDG tuner will match your radio to your antenna using our lightning-fast, proprietary tuning algorithms. LDG is a family-owned and operated company dedicated to bringing innovative, quality products to the amateur market. All LDG products carry a full 2-year warranty that is fully transferable. Support is only a phone call or email away. We're always here to help you. Visit us on the web at ldgelectronics.com.
Keep your competitive contesting edge with ICOM. ICOM's high-powered base stations cut through the pileups, letting you work the bands and record those contacts. Contest from the comfort of your home or remotely with the RSBA1 app. The IC7851 gives you a new window into the RF world and is HF excellence unparalleled. With faster processors, higher input gain, higher display resolution, and a cleaner signal. It is truly the pinnacle of HF perfection. It has dual receivers, digital IF filters, high-resolution spectrum waterfall. The IC7610 is a direct sampling, software-defined radio that has changed the world's definition of an SDR transceiver. Features include RF direct sampling, 110 dB RMDR, independent dual receivers. Create your own band opening with the IC9700. This transceiver brings direct sampling to the UHF-VHF weak signal world. This all-mode transceiver is loaded with innovative features that are sure to keep you very busy. It has fast processors, higher input gain, higher display resolution, and a cleaner signal. Included are real-time high-speed spectrum scope and waterfall display, smooth satellite operation with 99 satellite channels, dual watch operation, and full duplex operation in satellite mode. The IC7300 is the high-performance innovative HF transceiver with a compact design, and it will far exceed your expectations. This innovative HF transceiver digitizes RF before various receiver stages, reducing inherent noise in different IF stages. The IC7300 changed the way entry-level HF is designed. Features include RF direct sampling, 15 discrete bandpass filters, a large 4.3-inch color touchscreen, real-time spectrum scope. For more information on ICOM radios, visit www.icomamerica.com/amateur. All right, and we're back. And okay, I want to give you guys an update on what's going on. We've been flying. One of the challenges of the show is about the last 3 years. We've been keeping a Pico balloon in the air just about every month, flying around the Earth, and we finally broke that 44,000-foot glass ceiling with a new balloon that we were able to use, and we were flying at about 52,000 for about 60 days, and of course that's above the jet stream, and we had almost no wind up there, so we almost didn't go anywhere for 60 days. Our best flight around the world has been 9 days, and this flight, it took 80 days to go around the world, this flight, because we were flying so high. There was no wind up there. I want to show you where we are right now. Tracking is not great, but let me show you where we are. See if I can get this on here. So here's our position right here. We just came in from the north. We circled over, excuse me, we circled over Greenland there, and we're coming into Russia there, and we will be just before we get to Moscow there. We're going to be hanging a left there and heading east. So we'll be going across, look like the biggest part of Russia there. So we're still flying good. We've lost a little bit of altitude. We're down around 47,000 feet. Don't know if that's because we've lost some hydrogen over the last few weeks or months, or it could be atmospheric pressure causing us to be flying lower. Just don't know right now. We look at APRS. It's the same thing here. We look at APRS, and APRS is showing here like 47,734 feet. And I think last checked, we were doing about 27 miles per hour with the balloon here. Let's see if I can go back and show you the. I'm going to show you the path this thing took. It's one of the reasons we have not gone around the world, and it took 80 days. You can see what happened here. We launched here in the U.S. It went all the way past Japan, and let's see. I need to get this where you can see it a little better. Yeah, that'll probably work right there. So you can see right here, we went all the way to Japan, and then instead of finishing out the trip across the ocean there, we made a turn to the south, and we actually came below India and across the middle of Africa and back to the U.S. So and then on our second attempt to go around, we went way up into the Arctic, and we came down into Russia there. So that's kind of where we are with our flight 112, and you can follow that on our website if you just go to w5kub.com and check the balloon up in the menu, and it will show you where we are there. Let me just make a quick announcement out there to everybody that may be listening out there. If you're listening on international shortwave, this show has been about ham radio or amateur radio, and it is live on YouTube every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday nights. We have our own chat room where you can join us. If you're out there listening right now on shortwave, it's Thursday. You're listening, and it's somewhere between 5 and 7 p.m. Thursday. You're listening to the show. You can't join us just by joining us on Tuesday. You can come live and watch the show if you want to. Shoot us an email and let us know where you are in the world. We'd love to hear from you. And send us a signal report on how you're hearing shortwave station. We're not a high power station. We're only probably about 50,000 watts, and we're up transmitting out of Monticello, Maine, right up on the border of Maine and Canada. So please shoot us an email there. If you haven't done so, please subscribe. We really need you to hit that subscribe button. Right there is the subscribe button. It helps us to get the word out on YouTube about our show, our weekly show, and we'd love to have you there. Join our Facebook group, 13,000 strong of ham radio and shortwave listeners in our Facebook group. And this, you can join that group just by typing in W5KUB, or you can type in Amateur Radio Roundtable. Any of those will take you to our Facebook group, and we'll let you join immediately there. So that's the announcements I wanted to make. We typically, at this point, go to what we call the after the show. Let's see, we're going to do the after the show, and there we are right there. You know, somebody complained one time our show was too long. 2 hours is too long. Well, it might be long. So what we're doing now is, hey, Amateur Radio Roundtable, it's already ended. But now we're going into after the show, and here's where the fun starts. I'm going to post a link in the chat room, and if anybody wants to join us on Zoom, they can be on the show. So let me throw that link out real quick here. let's see if we can get anybody in here the last 20 minutes that we have available here. And here's the link. Let me get it. I need to hire about 5 more people, staff, to help with the show here. Let's see, copy the link. All right, and here we go. Here's the link. Just click on this link, and you guys will be able to come right into the show. We'll approve you, and you'll be on the show, and people around the world will be seeing you. So comb your hair and all that kind of stuff. And all right, so there's the link. Let's see if anybody comes in here in a minute and joins us. So let me go back to. We'll just go back to that background right there. All right. Well, Glenn, you've been awful quiet tonight, Glenn. What do you think, Glenn?
Oh, I thought it was cool. I was just watching it all and taking it in.
I learned a lot tonight. It was very interesting. Yeah. Very interesting. Boy, you ought to see all the questions I wrote down here, man. I mean, probably can't see them, but look at all. I had a number of questions and comments written down about it. So we had fun with that. I need to get the RSP1 out of the drawer there and dust it off. Let's see. We've got 2 people fixing to join us. I don't know who they are. Let's see. They're going to be Earl Griffin and I guess Massachusetts Bill. I guess that's who that is right there. Let's see if we can get him in here. All right. Did I get everybody? All right.
Yeah, there's Earl.
Come on in here. Come on in here. Why don't they?
Yeah, Earl's all muted.
Why don't they go away? There we go. All right. Well, let's see if we can get somebody in here that can get some excitement going here. Well, I tell you, we're not going to have a lot of time tonight to talk to everybody. See, was that somebody else? I heard a ding dong. I didn't see
that may have been Bill coming in, unless you got some.
Well, I don't see him.
Yeah, he's on.
Is he on there?
He's connecting.
Let me see.
Earl's here trying to figure out which mic to use.
Yeah. Well, there we go.
Now, wait a minute. You're muted, but I'm hearing audio. How are you doing that, Earl?
Shouldn't be, unless it's defaulted to the webcam mic.
Well, let's see.
Okay, yeah. now you're showing as unmuted, but on Zoom you were actually showing muted, but I could hear you laugh.
How about that?
Well, that's because we have a secret workaround button on this new software we've got here. We can click on it and we hear what you say. And what's this?
As long as you can't hear what I'm thinking, I'm okay.
Why's Glenn's got a box across Earl's face here? Let me see if I can move it. Let me move that over. There we go. That's better. All right. There we go. All right. Let's see. Well, WBAELK says, looks like today's show is going to cost him $120. Now he's got to order the SDRplay.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing.
Yeah. Well, I've got one here, and we're gonna do something with it.
You know what's really cool, Tom? You know, because I've probably been getting on for 5 years now, I guess. I used to go to school in England with Jon Hudson.
Uh-huh.
And that's how he got me involved in this.
I noticed a little bit of accent there.
Oh yeah, I'm still very much a Brit. So
yeah.
Originally, way back when, I was an SWL guy, right? So I used to listen to the BBC and all that good stuff.
Oh yeah.
And so when I got my RSP1A, I started listening to shortwave. But what happened was, as I started hanging out in the user groups, I was seeing what all these people were doing at things I didn't know exist. Because back then, I didn't know there were digital modes and all that kind of stuff. And then there was a guy right up the street from me. He started pointing antennas up at the GOES and the NOAA satellites. And he's bringing down these fantastic weather images from space.
Oh, yeah.
Whole Earth images and stuff. And he's not using the latest and greatest hardware. He's just got an old RSP2, that was our second model that came out. And what people are doing with these things is unbelievable. And the nice thing is, for a very low cost of entry, it's a great little shortwave receiver, right? And you can do the HF bands. But it's when you start exploring all the other aspects of it, it gets really fascinating. And it's it's so inexpensive too.
Well, I was going to say it does. I won't say it does too much. It does so much that somebody can find something they would like to do with it, man. Like you say, listen to satellite or ham or who knows what they want to do with it,
Yeah, I think that's the joy of going into some of these user groups. I think the Facebook group, which is independent from SDRplay, by the way, we do monitor it and try and answer any questions. But people can get on there; they can badmouth us if they want. It doesn't matter. It's we don't run the group. We're not the admins or anything. But when you see what other people are doing, it's kind of inspiring because you can kind of get tied into a rut and just look at the same frequencies over and over. And then when you see what other people are doing, it's very inspiring just to go off and do something with it.
All right, so tell me here what I got. I've got, and this is an RSP2.
Yeah.
Did this come after? This came after the one, I suppose, right?
That came after the one. What you have there is good old-fashioned RSP2, and the 1A came out after that, and that was one of those that had much better pre-select filters. Whereabouts are you, Bill? You down south somewhere?
Yeah, I'm near Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay. So I don't know how much you've got in terms of local AM broadcasters down there.
Oh, we've got a lot.
Yeah, that's quite a few.
Probably got a lot. When I was in Dallas, the RSP2 tended to get swamped a little bit when there were a lot of local AM broadcast stations. And that would generate mixing products that we kind of talked about earlier that would go up into HF, which was pretty inconvenient. And so the 1A, when it came out, had much better pre-select filters. We were learning as we went along. And,
so I guess this one is kind of obsolete now, right? You guys aren't marketing this one.
We're not making it anymore, but SDR Uno will still work with it, and when SDR Connect comes out, it will also still work with it.
Okay, cool.
And a little known fact is the RSP2 was actually our lowest noise RSP to date. And anytime you design a receiver, it's a matter of trade-offs, right? And they went a bit overboard on getting the noise low, and of course, when you get to it's upside down.
Do I have it upside? I can't see it now. I'm reading so far. Here we go. I'm reading so far.
Yeah, and so it's got super low noise, and John mentioned those guys that like to go up in the Arctic, and where it's quiet, that's a real good plus. But usually on HF, you've got local noise and atmospheric noise and everything that makes it pretty much a bit of overkill. But you'll love using that. It's a great little receiver.
All right.
Just be careful with that little adapter you've got that goes from SO239 to SMA.
Right.
The pigtails are actually better because that can put
take the strain off
on the case.
Yeah.
Having said that, I mean I've got one just like that myself.
Yeah. Well, people get these little cheap handy talkies and they put a connector like that in there and a big antenna, and the first thing that happens, it breaks the connector off.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Now, having said that, even though you've got the plastic case units, I've got RSP 1s and 1As I take around. They've been around the globe with me, and they've been dropped on the floor, and I haven't even cracked one yet. So
that's good.
But the metal case ones are nice. I don't know if people are looking at me, so maybe I can do a little show and tell as well. Why are we not seeing that? There we go. If anyone can see that or not, probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the RSPdx.
Raise it up.
Yeah, that's the one that costs. I think it's $224.95 at HRO now.
Could be. I'm sure. But what we did was we got rid of that green connector that was on Tom's RSP2, and we put a BNC on here instead.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Nice.
You can see you've got a little bit of tape over, so you can see the green one over my shoulder there. Those were great because that was essentially a balanced connection. So if you connected a dipole straight to it, it was really good. But the downside to that thinking is if you had to bring that in from outside, you picked up all sorts of local electrical noise. So a better way to do it would be to put a balun outside and go from the balanced dipole and then put a coax feed line to come in. and for that the BNC would be a much better connector. So we're learning.
Are folks using a lot of preamps with those for that balance through that balun connection?
Normally, no, not a preamp unless you've got a lot of cable run from the antenna into the unit, in which case you'd put it up on the masthead. I know some people are doing it at the higher frequencies. And of course, if you're using a magnetic loop, you would want a preamp out in the loop itself. But the thing about preamps is, they amplify the noise as well. So at the end of the day, if you just stick too much gain in, yeah, sure, you've got a stronger signal, but your noise floor went up as well. So your signal to noise is no different, so you're no better off. So, people think, oh, I'm going to stick a preamp on here. Well, you really don't need it, except maybe if you're operating up at the higher frequencies. I know the people that build the little helical kind of things for pointing at antennas, antennas for satellites, I mean.
Yeah.
They'll often have a preamp in front.
All right, so hey, I hadn't mentioned this. My son, Chris, AC5CM, sent me a note. Last night, there was a 6.0 earthquake overnight in the South Sandwich Islands.
Really?
Do everybody know where the South Sandwich Islands are?
No, but I got Google
They're
Maps.
southeast.
Yeah,
the Caribbean.
They're southeast of Argentina, down toward Antarctica.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably just north of the Ham and Cheese Islands.
Yeah, let's see. I'll bring them up. I'll bring them up on a map here. Let's see.
They can't be far from the Falklands then.
Let's see.
It's close to the Vulcan.
Let me pull them up.
I was going to say, send your balloon over there. Check it out.
Yeah, well, I can't get it down. I can't make it go below the equator. That's the only problem. Here we go. Here's the island. Here's the Sandwich Island right here. Let's see.
Well, it is way down there.
Yeah. Let's see. Doesn't look like a whole lot there. Got some penguin. Let's see if I got a better map. I think I should have a better map.
I may have missed some of the stuff when you were talking about the balloon there, but what sort of batteries you got in that thing?
We're not battery. It's solar power only.
Okay.
Because batteries won't work up there. A rechargeable battery will not work up there. It will not charge and it will not discharge. A primary cell would work, but they're too heavy. Yeah. Most people on our show have seen this, but this is the tracker we build right here. It weighs about 1.7 grams. 1.7 grams. That's less than a penny weight, and that has the GPS, the CPU, the transmitter. Everything's right there. And once we put the solar cells on here and a full 20 meter dipole antenna, 34 feet of antenna on here, total weight is 7.8 grams. The antenna wire is number 36, which is just a little bit larger than a hair on your head. And so, we're flying at about 30. Well, we're flying at about a little under 8 grams with this. We're using hydrogen. You can use, of course, helium, but we like the hydrogen. It gets us a little bit higher.
Yeah.
And we've been doing it for the show now for about 3 years, maybe a little longer. Been trying to keep one in the air. It takes a lot of luck to get around. And a lot of luck, and you gotta miss the weather, and that's why we're trying to fly as high. There's a picture of the tracker right there we're building, and there's another shot of it right there on the back side. I was building it under a microscope. The parts are so small, but we're constantly changing that and taking parts off of it, and less parts, and still getting it to work.
Yeah, that's interesting. Way back in the past, I worked for Texas Instruments for some time, and all the components were through-hole then, and I could actually, solder boards together. And then when they went to all this surface mount stuff, it's like, whoa, I can't do that anymore.
Yeah,
So,
we had a little episode of that a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Tom recorded my first real attempt at doing that.
Well,
It's amazing what they can do now.
mm-hmm.
And then Tom,
They being the correct word.
Tom had some parts on the counter at Huntsville, and people were just amazed at how small they were. They didn't think they were that small until they saw them.
Yeah,
They're teeny tiny.
Parts are looking like a flea.
I was disappointed I didn't get to Huntsville this year. What was the attendance like?
Well, they said it was
a record.
5,000. They said it was 5,000
really?
people. It's normally 3,000. We win again this year. I won the 790. I won the IC 9700 on Sunday.
Oh, nice.
It's still in the box over. Glenn, I haven't opened it yet. It's been 2 weeks, man. It's just sitting over there.
Well, mine's not here yet. It hasn't even been shipped yet.
Yeah. Well, this one hadn't even been opened yet. Steve, we Kathy and I both came back with COVID, so we were sick the entire week. I was sick for the week after I came back, and she just got over it. She had it for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I haven't seen her for a long time. I miss her for being at HRO.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Oh my God! Speaking of COVID,
Incoming. Everybody put a mask on.
That's it. Cover your speakers, everybody.
Yeah, he's got COVID.
Who does? Bill? Does Bill have it?
Bill does.
Bill, when did you get it? Bill?
If I can stop coughing long enough, I'll join you all for a little bit.
When did you get it? Right after Huntsville?
10 days after Huntsville. I was in Florida, Long World, to ride the Star Wars, and that's probably where I got it.
Yeah.
We went down to see the rocket launch, but obviously not launch. I have a question for Steve. Can you describe the difference between your two higher up versions and I see there's 3 antenna ports on the one that has DR on it, and then your Duo that has 2 separate receivers. But does that what's the difference between really?
What you're talking about is the difference between the DX and the Duo.
Right.
And if you do go to our website, there's a little table that shows you the differences. But basically, the DX is a single tuner radio, and it's like having a radio with a 3-way antenna switch in front of it. So you have antenna inputs A, B, and C.
Hero, a girl with a dream, a bloodthirsty plant, a monster.
So you've got a single tuner with an antenna switch built in. The Duo, on the other hand, it also has 3 antenna inputs. It still has the old green connector for one of them, the so-called high Z, which has got like a 1K input, and that was for connecting directly to dipoles and stuff like that. And it can be used in much the same way as the DX in that, you can use it to look at up to 10 megahertz of spectrum. But the Duo can also be reconfigured to be 2 independent tuners. And the key thing about when you have 2 independent tuners is you are sending the same data stream over the same USB connection. So the data stream from the 2 tuners is going to remain coherent. And being coherent, that allows you to do the diversity tuning. And you just can't do that with any other model in the lineup. So the 2 tuners let you do diversity tuning, and as John explained, you can use that MRC technique automatically to optimize for the strongest signal, or you can override it and go manually, and you can use it to kind of null out any interfering stations. So that's the key thing about the Duo. The other party trick that we like to demonstrate is we'll use one tuner set to the air traffic control band, and we'll use the other one to tune into ADSB up at 1.08 gigahertz. So you can listen to air traffic controllers, and at the same time you can see the aircraft you're listening to being plotted. You can see them moving around on the map, and you can see their call signs and everything else, which is pretty cool. Or, you can monitor like 20 meters and 2 meters at the same time if you want to do that. So that's the strength of the Duo, and that's why it's the so-called top of the line, because it's got that dual tuner capability. But as a sort of consolation prize, if you will, on the DX, which although it's only got one tuner, I'm interested in seeing some of these pictures. This is common, you know. I've given talks at many places, and people often doze off while I'm speaking.
Did Glenn pass out on us?
DX has got this HDR mode, high dynamic range mode, below 2 megahertz. And
yeah, Glenn's been up since 5 a.m.
Yeah. On the DX, I don't know how many people listening here, but if the Brits involved, we know that Radio 4 transmits on 198 kilohertz medium wave. And I tried many times over the years to see if I could pick it up in Texas, and I never could until I got the DX. And I was able to actually copy Radio 4 long wave from the UK for the first time. It was weak, it faded, but to me that was a pretty good testimonial to how well the HDR mode works on the DX. So hopefully that explains the difference between the two.
All right, hey guys, we've got 1 minute left. Let me say goodbye to everybody listening out there on shortwave. This is Amateur Radio Roundtable, a show about ham radio. Join us again on shortwave next Thursday, 5 to 7 p.m. on 7490, or join us live on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. on W5KUB.com. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
All right, so I think
Steve, I just wanted to mention now instead of $109, I think Joe cost me $299.
Yes, actually, I think it's $279 at HRO.
$279, so I think I'm going to have to go for the Duo.
Yeah, I was looking at the same thing, and I was about to ask the same question.
Yeah, we regard the RSP1A as an entry level drug, and once people experience that, they just keep buying more and more.
No, I'm just going to go straight to the heroin and get the
Yeah, there you go. That'll work.
Yeah, just mainline it.
I think that's what I'm going to do too.
Yeah, so
I love the idea of having two receivers at the simultaneous.